Ladies and gentlemen, now let's move right along the next panel of today. As we are all planning destination weddings here, we know the differences and challenges we face when planning a destination wedding. So let's dig in and uncover some insight and highlights of the global expenditure intensity of destination weddings. Now, I would like to invite to the stage our moderator, the director of Rashi Entertainment. Please join us on stage, Mr. Rajeev Jain.
Good afternoon. So I think I've been here 30 minutes. I have a set of that were being sent by Inventor Mice. To stick to that, but check. Today in the morning, out of speech of Stephen, I picked up certain figures. 1.3 trillion is the turnover of wedding in mice market is what he said. How it has been arrived at, I don't know, but it's a very interesting figure. Out of which $30 to $35 billion is the worth of weddings that are happening worldwide, is what Stephen said. Based on that, I was definitely surprised about the whole figures. So, can you play the video and the voice, please? Can you put some? All join hands together and let's see that you become our destination, we become your destination. Moving further, I would like to invite the panelists on the stage. Founder and CEO of the International Wedding Planner, Miss Muriel. Miss Muriel on the stage, please. From France. Please give her a big round of applause. She's got 10 years of experience on doing various international weddings. I would like to invite Director of Cineyug Group of Companies, Mr. Karan Soorma from India. He is one of the first one who did wedding in Turkey, Istanbul, the Mr.'s wedding. I would like to be joined by Miss Marina, Ionina from UK, the youngest planner. About it, we're trying to understand the variety of expenses for a wedding with regard to different destinations. You are from South France, yes, and you are operating in and around France with your various clients. So tell us how different destinations do you plan weddings?
So I try to focus on very specific locations as we need to deliver good services. So I focus mostly in south of France with Provence, French Riviera, Corsica, and Lake Como for north of Italy. And I'm French. Most of the time I live in south of France, but I also have offices in New York City and Chicago.
So approximately last 10 years is your experience, is what you have told me. So these countries is what you operate upon. What are your clients like from this part of the world?
Sorry?
What are your clients like?
Like?
Yeah.
What do they look like?
Industrialist.
Sorry, because
They're the industrialist, they're the businessmen.
oh yeah, most of them are in finance or lawyers, and it's very specific. But because of my marketing is clearly focused on them, so most of my clients are New Yorkers, and some people also are from Middle East. But I would say 80% from New York and 20% from Middle East, and some extras. You know, you always have some
All right.
people.
We'll come back to you. Karan,
Yes.
what is the expenditures of the wedding that you guys have been planning? I've been hearing a lot about you guys. And what are the different affect the customer's choice of destination, if at all?
So I think how we go about it is for all our clients, we have a ready reckoner where based on which destination they want to go to, we have already prepare a whole list of what a per person cost will be for that destination, and we present that to them along with, so this is the minimum amount they want to spend. So for example, if it's Europe, for an Indian wedding, we know it's about 2.5 to 3,000 euros. So if they're prepared for that first, we sort of build that in. So this is how much, you're going to spend so much on your decor, on your hotels, on your food, travel, etc. So we really go in prepared before we meet our clients, so that, because Indian clients are really fickle. So I mean, for them the world's their oyster. So we really have to try to narrow their focus down. What we have faced when we're dealing with our clients is not really about the cost heads that we really look at. It's more of the mentality. So for example, getting a deal. So a lot of our clients are big businessmen, very established in their own right. And what they want is they want to go and they want to get the best deal because they're all well-traveled. They've been around the world. And so it comes down to the attractivity of a destination where they can get a deal, so whether it means going into a shoulder season to get a better rate or just going to a hotel that's making them an offer they can't refuse. On the flip side, there's a disadvantage of getting a deal because we've had clients who just go to a destination because their office is in some region has found out a great hotel deal. What happens then is they don't realize that there's no infrastructure, there's no chairs, tables, florals, nothing.
Okay.
So everything has to be imported. So these are the things that really, influence
the weddings. We'll come back to you, Karan. Marina, I think I spoke to you at the backstage, and you just started being in this business for last 1 year. Before that, you went in a hotel. So you have been working with a lot of local partners in UK. So what are the networks that you're using in UK, and what are the problems that you're facing?
You're asking in terms of destination weddings network?
Yes.
So I think everyone will agree that it's very important to work with people you really love and you actually personally know. So I only use people I've seen before. I've probably met at a conference like that or another conference, or we've done a project together, not necessarily a wedding, and it's a personal recommendation. However, there are of course other options. For example, in the UK, we have a UK Alliance of Wedding Planners. We socialize a lot, we have our own social network, and we always post our recommendations there, recommend suppliers, talk about them. This is a great source. And then, of course, you can ask your colleagues. But that would be my second choice. I always would go with my experience and the personal connection.
So basically, you use a lot of personal connections to get your work done in your country, right?
Sorry?
You use a lot of your personal connections to get your work done.
Not only in the UK, so
everywhere.
Everywhere, because
Okay.
we have lots of destination wedding shows in London, which we held in London, and I travel a lot to shows like that, where I meet people as well.
Okay. Muriel, coming back to you.
Yeah.
You said that 10 years you've been working in this field, and drastically the figures have changed.
Yes.
So what is the intensity of the expenditure that have changed in last decade? And have you seen a rise or a fall? What are the statistics?
Yeah, I would say definitely a rise, because some years ago, destination wedding were just elopement, so a couple buying tickets and just a hotel and have a fancy and romantic dinner, and that was it. Then new generation started to move and bring 10 to 12 people maximum, but now we have to face the millennial, and millennial already travel a lot for the job, and so it's easy for them to imagine bringing 200, 500 people to the wedding and travel with them. So for sure, when you increase the number of guests, for sure you increase also the final bill. But also Instagram, social media has a great impact, I think, on the expenses. Everything has to be great on Instagram. And when something has to be great on Instagram, that needs a lot of details, and people have to pay for details.
Suman said just now that we try to avoid social medias and the figures in our part of the world. So I think this IMWF is happening now, Karan. There are people from approximately 55 countries is what I've been told they're here, and when I was being given this topic, so there was one thing that came in my mind, that India can be a destination for these 55 countries, and these 55 countries can be a destination for India. What is your take on that, Karan?
So no, I'm really for this collaborative process because in my experience, so I've been on a few forums before, a similar forum, then what I've realized is last year I was in Dubai and I met a designer and we were on a panel together and I've used him on 2 weddings already. So in the past year. So there's a lot of exchange of ideas. Suppose you're sitting with a client and you just need to know what a hotel rate would be. You call up a hotelier friend you met and said, hey, listen, what rate can I get? So there's a lot of quick exchange of information and ideas which such a forum sort of connects you with, and I think that's really, really important.
So other than Inventum Global, who is operating in 5 countries now, today morning I heard about that. So do you feel that as Indians we are in a position to collaborate with all the people for doing our weddings?
I think so. I think there's 2 ways that we work about it. One is obviously given that we have another business which is on the side, which is for events. So we have a network which is existing, but for a lot of new countries, a lot of different countries, we do collaborate. For example, you mentioned the wedding we did in Istanbul. At that time, destination weddings in this part of the world were relatively new. So we used an entirely local team. We didn't really, we carried a few heads, but the entire execution team was from here. So if it wasn't that collaborative process, if we really didn't get down and sort of crunch those numbers and, briefed the entire team, we wouldn't have been able to pull that off. So I think as Indians, we're a little averse to collaborating because, we like what is familiar. But I think if you do collaborate, there are merits in that as well.
So I think we should take a message that coming down to IMWF, the collaboration has to increase. The turnover of the wedding industry has to increase. The figures in wedding industry have to increase by the collaboration.
Yes.
I'll come back to you. Marina, I've been asked to ask this question that you work in UK, and what are the problems that you feel that you face in UK mostly?
Well, I also don't like that question. I agree with you. I think as a wedding planner, you don't have a trouble to find anything and everything in the world. The rarer the thing they ask you, the better, because that's your value. That's why they're hiring you, because they actually would like you to find the rare item, the best item, and bring them to them. And that's what I enjoy doing. This is my challenge. So there is nothing.
So as a wedding planner, there is no problem that
there
we face.
There is no troubles. Wedding
we have to
don't
fight
have
and solve the problem, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Muriel, you refuse to answer that question, but what is the biggest budget of a wedding?
Question. I love to.
What is the biggest budget of the wedding that you have planned? And I also want to know that because in France, what are the kind of expenditures? About India, Karan will definitely speak.
Yeah, it's very different. So yeah, the question is about the budget and what is, most of the time people are asking me, what is the average budget you manage for the weddings? And as I'm French, I truly believe I can be arrogant because it's part of our DNA. So this is why I tell you that I didn't want to answer that question, but I will answer exactly the amount, so you will be happy, I hope. So, but why I'm not happy with this kind of question is just because I do believe that the strength and the value of a wedding planner is not based on the amount of weddings, the budget of weddings she managed or he managed. I do believe that we have to face challenges, and that's the grace under pressure that makes a good wedding planner. It's not the amount she has to spend for the wedding, okay? But now to answer your question, most of the time, so I would say that at lowest I have 50K for 10 people, up to $750,000.
$50,000.
Yeah, euros.
Euros, 50,000 euros.
And then for 450 guests, I had 750,000 euros.
750,000 euros for 750 guests. And that was for how many days function approximately? 1 day, 2 day, 3 day?
Most of 3 days.
Mostly for 3 days.
Yes. They come, I mean, destination weddings are not for 1 day, because you have to welcome the guests, so you have a welcome dinner, welcome party, whatever, then you have the big day, and then you have a brunch. So 3 days for my area, okay?
Karan, for the figures for the international audience, what are the kind of weddings that happen in India and the figures?
Weddings that okay, That's a very controversial question to give figures.
I've been asked.
So weddings that happen in India at least.
I've been asked to do that. Please carry on.
No, so Indian weddings, I mean, they really, I mean, fortunately, what happens, we're from Bombay, so I mean, in terms of just the local stuff that happens there, we've got a venue now. So at least the expenditure of the weddings we do there has gone up from maybe about 20 lakh rupees a function on just decor and about 3,000 per plate. So I mean about anywhere from 50 lakhs, which is about $180,000 per function. That's really scaled up to something about 300 to 400,000 for a wedding in India that happens just per function nowadays. Stuff like artists, complexity of decor just takes that to another level. We did a wedding recently where just the artist cost was $1.2 million. So
in which wedding?
This was just one function of a wedding in Delhi that we did. So I mean, it really ranges. It can be really small. It can be really big. On an average, an Indian wedding, a wedding in India can, in a destination like a Goa or a Jaipur, can really range from about 75,000 to about 1.25 lakhs per person, which is about $1,200 to $2,000.
Okay.
Which is really a starting point. And then and with Indian weddings, it can really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Karan, Cineyug, you are not being clear about the figures.
Yeah, I think I'm giving a good indication of the figures.
Cineyug has been part of one of the most premium weddings.
Internationally also, you have done
Few weddings in UAE. You have done the first wedding, among one of the first weddings
in Istanbul.
for Mittals. So,
What are the kind of expenditures?
how did that happen? It's not going on air.
So broadly, how we work with our clients is we work on a very transparent basis, where we charge a fee. We come in as a consultant, and we encourage them to deal directly with hotels, with vendors, with venues, etc. So what we really come in, we come in and sort of stitch everything together. So if I really have to give you a number, I don't think I'm going to be fair to the kind of work we do. But broadly, that's something. So the fees that we charge really depends on the complexity of the wedding, the amount of time, because it's like creating a bespoke suit. So the amount of, and our only quantity and our only product is time. So the amount of time we have to invest in a wedding is the what affects the fee.
So can we take a
It
message?
is that the Indian wedding planners operate on a fees, which can vary.
A lot of them do.
A lot of them do.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think that's a good way to go, because in India, trust is really important. And
Cool.
we try to ensure that we maintain that.
I'll take your point, though I don't
Agree, but I'll take your point.
This
But I'll
is
take
the
your point.
clients that we work with.
Though I don't agree to it.
Fair. Marina,
In this part of the world, UK, who, like in India, we always say that the biggest influencers is the bride and groom these days. Previously, it used to be the father and the mother of the bride and groom. In your
part of the world, who are the biggest influences for getting a wedding?
wedding confirmed.
For wedding confirm, or to actually have influence on the planning of the wedding? It's a bit different. So sometimes father can help to confirm the wedding, but then he will not influence any decisions, and the bride will influence, or the mom of the bride. It's actually a very difficult question. I don't think in the UK you can get the statistics right, because it's such a multicultural city. London is such a multicultural, and one couple will have one story, and the other couple will be from different country and different upbringing. But to be honest, I also see that intention that it used to be the mom and dad would support the wedding mostly, and will actually influence that. But nowadays, couples, they don't like the influence. They like the support part, but the influence they don't like. So they're trying to get away and trying to pay for the wedding themselves and decide what they would like themselves. They don't really want to involve other relatives into the wedding.
Okay. So now I think these are the questions that I was being asked to ask them. We'll talk general now.
Sure.
Is it fine? I'll
Keep this. Fair enough. Turkey. We all are sitting in Turkey. I have traveled to Turkey for 7-8 times. When initially Turkey tourism came to India through Sudarshan and all these people, we were never knowing about this country. And when Bunyat and Asal called us for the first meet, we all came here. We did IMA. I've experienced cities like Antalya, Cappadocia, Bodrum, Istanbul. I found this country is very interesting country for doing destination weddings. We all are here because we are working in Turkey. What is your take in Turkey on two best points that can be done for a Turkey wedding, and 2 negatives. Vijay raised a very important point of a language. I also asked the video to be played later. They played it first only. So it was a very important point he raised. Your take on Turkey?
I would say that, so that's my first time in Turkey. So if I had to choose Turkey as a destination, it's because my clients would ask for it. And I would try to get their vision. So for me, what comes first, and I think most of you share that, is that weather conditions. Definitely, that's one of the strengths of the location. Then the culture. They strongly believe in an area where they can belong to for any reason. It can be personal, it can be dream, it can be anything. So definitely weather condition and culture. But also you have food and you have a big heritage. So there's more than 2 big great points to come to Turkey. And maybe because I'm French and I see the news and everything, and as my clients are in the US, they won't ask for Turkey because of the area where it is located on the globe. That's a no-go for the moment.
You have not done a wedding in Turkey. You have not done a wedding in Turkey so far.
Not yet.
One best destination that you would like us to carry from here as your message, which you feel is best near your South France, where the weddings can happen.
What do you mean?
Which city, which country?
Me?
Yeah.
Where I am? In south of France?
Near to South France, which is the country which is good for a destination wedding?
My area.
Okay. You have done weddings in Turkey. Give us your experience for Istanbul wedding that you did,
Right.
which you talked previously.
As I mentioned, it was quite a challenge.
Why was it chosen for the first go, which was the first wedding of Mittals?
It was actually this was the second big wedding in the family. The first one was in Versailles in France.
Okay.
So this was actually, it was when we were sitting and looking at various destinations, I think what really drew them to the place was the culture. You know, because there was such a variety of venues that you could use, indoor, outdoor. We could use boats where we transported people just within the city itself. So I mean, that really gave something very unique, something very exotic actually. And obviously we had venues like the Chiran Palace, we had Sayyid Talim Pasha, which is just beautiful, beautiful venues in themselves. You know, you don't really have to do much. So for the first time we came to a destination and we used what was here rather than trying to recreate, like one of the speakers earlier said, a mini India here. So I think that really added a lot of color and life. What I really liked in the experience of working here with the people, there were language barriers, there was a certain miscommunication which happened, but I think everyone really gave it their best. I mean, right from your transport coordinators to the DMC to everybody involved with the hotel. You could see the passion that they had for what they were doing, and I think that really was a big factor in the success of the wedding.
You did a wedding entertainment in Antalya wedding also recently.
We were a small
part of
so
it.
That's not something that I would really
Okay, your take as a destination.
Well, it's now hard to
add something?
To add something, but I think the scenery, it's the most amazing, beautiful country with beautiful views. So if people would come here for a wedding, they would come here for a destination ceremony somewhere in an amazing, breathtaking view. That would be the reason to come. On the other side, actually the food can be a good point and a bad point.
Yeah.
For example, for the UK clients, I think it can be quite tricky. They might have strict requirements. We have so much dietary requirements in the UK, and it's quite difficult for British to come and not. They expect that service here as well. So that might be a bit tricky. So maybe we will have to bring our own chefs or catering. And it is quite far.
Yeah, that's a pretty standard.
Yeah. But then Turkey is quite far. So, okay, food, we can obviously argue there are different countries with the same problem, but then maybe Italy is a bit closer and amazing weather and the scenery. So Turkey is a bit far for the UK. But I think if you love the culture, you will choose the UK, right? Sorry, not the UK, the Turkey.
I'd like to add here, I think from an Indian destination perspective, I think Turkey is a little challenging in terms of the weather. I mean, I know you all love it from Europe.
Challenging?
When it comes to the weather, because there are only certain months of the year when we can really, because we love hot weather. So there's only certain months of the year, for example, in Istanbul, it gets really cold in the winter. And that's when a lot of Indian weddings really take place. And even Antalya, some of the properties actually, Antalya boardroom, some of the properties just shut in a certain part.
I'm aware that they shut from September till January, February types is what they shut. Yes, I'm aware about
That's a big challenge. And if we can try to work out a way to work around that, I think it'll become an even more exciting destination.
Yeah, and maybe we not forgot, but as we know that Turkey has a lot of big points to make it successful, is also because of, and I'm sorry, it's not about politics or, but you have Turkish airline, and which is one of the most powerful company that goes everywhere on the globe. That makes also a big impact on the choice from the couple. If everyone, because all the families and friends are split everywhere, and when they decide to have a destination wedding, they also focus on how to go there. And thanks this company, I think this is a big thing for having Turkey as a success destination wedding.
So basically, before throwing questions open to the audience, what
figures I've gathered is, again repeating, $1.3 trillion is the turnover for MICE and weddings. $30 to $35 billion are the kind of money that's being spent in weddings worldwide. Indian weddings, the range is from 3 to 7 millions is what we spend on a wedding, is what we talked about. And the international weddings are in the range of $50,000 to $350,000 is what was being talked about. We have 55 countries. We should collaborate with each one of us. We should develop new destinations. This market is growing, and a 20 to 25% growth is being noticed internationally. Speaking about India, the Indian wedding planners, the 120 wedding planners from the country, you know what the topmost one in the field, they are being invited by every country today to experience them. And this market is being taken as the most growing market which can bring in revenues. As Indians, when we go, we don't book the hotels, we don't book the catering or the entertainment. Yeah. When we go, we shop also. So the kind of revenues which I saw from Thailand government was a crazy revenue, which every year that comes into that particular economy. On behalf of IMWF, it's the time to collaborate with each other, time to work with each other, try to develop destinations.
We have to define it.
Sky is the world for us, and we all have to work together. Any questions, 1 or 2 questions if anybody has from them or me? 26 minutes, 2 minutes saved as profit. And Karan, names I'm taking your name. Right?
That's Karan bhai. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure, I think we're running late.
Thank you.
Thank you.